Document D. This is the last document, and today's Friday's lesson, but we're not going to jump right into the essay on Monday. We're going to take about 3 days to make sure that we really understand the greater context and importance of the Battle of Gettysburg, because I feel like with just these four documents, it would be really hard to explain clearly why it's a turning point. There's some good evidence here, but you really have to understand what the Union needed to do and what the Confederacy needed to do in order to win the war. And these documents don't really speak to that. So we're going to take like 2 or 3 days next week and look at the larger strategic significance of the Battle of Gettysburg in the overall scope of the war. So, once again, the the document is down here. Okay, bit of a space here, and the questions are up here. So let's take a look at this document. This is the Gettysburg Address from President Abraham Lincoln. It is one of the most famous speeches in all of American history, and this one's near and dear to my heart. I think that Abraham Lincoln is an amazing figure because he is complex, and he is heartfelt and honest, and he does his best to do what is right. And I think most of the time what he does is right. And so let's take a look at some of the questions about it. So Lincoln refers to a time 7 years earlier. If a score means a 20-year period, then what year would that have been? What happened on that occasion? So do the math, right? 4 times 20 and 7. So subtract 7 from 1863 and figure out what would have happened around that time in American history. All right, and reference the rest of the speech as well, because he tells you what happens. Who, according to Lincoln, has hallowed, made holy, the battlefield's ground? So he has a great deal of respect for the soldiers who were there. And this battlefield is preserved to this day. It's kind of a unique feature of American history, is that we have a lot of preserved battlefields where, like, there's nothing that's going on there except being a historical site. There's, thousands of wars that have been fought on in hundreds of thousands of locations all around the world. But in America, we have chosen to preserve some battlefields and to, put memorials there and honor the people who died. What does it mean to give the last full measure of devotion to a cause? Okay. So, the last full measure, giving it all, every part, giving 100%, 110%, right? In your own words, what is it Lincoln asked the crowd to resolve or to pledge? So we have to read this section down here. What is he asking people to cause? He says, it is rather for us to be here dedicated to this task remaining before us. So there's a task that they have to still do. That from these honored dead we take increased devotion to the cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. Right? Dying is the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, and for the people, shall not perish from the earth. Lincoln sees the Confederacy as a threat to the Union, to the government of the United States of America, and to the freedom of its people. And by this point, he has signed the Emancipation Proclamation, and he said that all the slaves in the South are going to be free. And he is working towards this. This is an evolving position. Abraham Lincoln eventually comes to the position that all slaves in America should be free, and he does everything he can to make that happen. So he asks them to pledge to finish this war so that it's not in vain. Because if they don't finish the war, if they get tired of fighting and the South wins, then slavery will go on and the nation will be forever divided. And this document is really about the emotional importance of the Battle of Gettysburg, how this speech affected people, and how it gave Abraham Lincoln this time to show how great of a leader he was, because many people doubted him, and many people hated him, and thought that he was no good while he was the president. But this battle, the speech that he gave after it, gave him an opportunity to show his competence